a little bit more about how to use these predator-prey relationships. So I'll post that in the chat here when I get done. So thanks, Iman, for organizing this. Appreciate the opportunity to participate here today. I'm going to talk just briefly today about an update on our 2020 cotton variety testing results. I'm going to focus a little bit on here on Western and Central Arizona, the results from this year or from last year, 2020, and then provide you an update on some of the stuff that we've been doing, continuing work that we've been doing with flutriafol, which is top guard for control of cotton root rot by Trichopsis omnivora. So I'm going to go through some of these kind of preparatory slides pretty quick. But in our 2020 program, we had 7 locations for our strip trials, which were what we call our upland cotton variety testing program. These are conducted on cooperative fields across the state. We had 7 locations. We had 1 location of a strip trial for Pima. We had 3 locations for our upland cotton advanced strains. This is our traditional locations of Yuma, Maricopa, and Safford. These are our small plot trials. These are conducted on experimental lines primarily. There's some commercial lines in there too. And then we had 3 locations of a Pima advanced strains trial, again in Yuma, Maricopa, and Safford. So we're able to do this in a wide range of elevations, environments, climates across the state. Gives us a good opportunity to evaluate these entries, these varieties in a wide range of environments. We couldn't do it without the funding and support of our growers, cooperators. Cotton Incorporated also provides support to these programs, and also the participating seed companies by providing support and seed to be able to do this. But a huge shout out to our grower cooperators. They allow us to come onto their farm, put these trials in. It's a headache for them. I realize that, both at planting and at harvest, but we appreciate their support of these programs. So we're working currently on the final publication. We have sent out, distributed to not very widely, kind of a pre-final version of all of our results from 2020 that have lint yield, fiber quality, early season data, stand count, vigor data, mid-season data, looking at plant height, nodes above white flower, and then all the other agronomic data. I'm going to put a link in the chat here in just a minute when I'm done, so you can download the version that we currently have that has all of our upland test results. We're still working on finishing up the Pima test results. We are having a meeting, and I'll talk more about this at the end, a meeting on the 18th of February. It will be a cotton production update meeting. We'll have everything finalized by then. So variety selection, obviously, I believe is probably one of the most important decisions you can make, but it can be difficult. With all of the varieties that are out there from a lot of different competing seed companies, which is great that we have that selection, but it can be confusing. Varieties don't stick around as long as they used to. Seed contracts play into that, which is a very important part for our growers. Could be, in some cases, could mean the difference between a profit and a loss if you've got a seed contract for a particular variety. Have new trait packages coming along. Peter mentioned the Thrive-On that will be available, just deregulated in the U.S. here just recently. So that also adds another layer of decisions that have to be made when selecting a variety. So what I want to do is just show you some results from our 2020. This is from Goodyear. You'll notice that there's no fiber quality data in this table. I've been doing these trials for 20 plus years, and we've never had. Yes.
Are you sharing presentation or something?
I'm sorry, say again, is it not coming through?
I cannot see the presentation share.
That's not showing up.
No.
Oh, well, that's not good. Let's try this. Okay. I see what happened. So I'm going to have to leave the meeting, come back in, I think. Let me see.
Yeah, you start sharing now.
Oh, is it sharing now? Okay.
But it's gone, so you need to do that again.
Okay. Here we go. Sorry about that.
Okay. There we go.
I've got the computer, and there were some permissions that weren't enabled to allow me to share. So is that coming in now, Hyman?
Yeah, I can see it now.
Okay. So you'll notice this is the Goodyear location. We don't have any fiber quality data for this location yet. In 25 years of doing these trials, I've never had any samples lost. We had 2 shipments from FedEx that went out. They never made it to Visalia. They were shipped out on the 23rd of December. So we're working on getting some of the data from the gin. Luckily, these were kept separate. These varieties were kept separate at the gin. So hopefully we'll get some information from the gin on variety, on fiber quality for these varieties at the Goodyear location. You can see in Goodyear, we had a range of about 1,300 pounds, the lowest yielding variety, to a little over 2,100 pounds. I do want to mention this one variety from Gowan, 1432. That is a completely conventional variety that we had in a few of our locations this year. You'll see that one pop up. That is of interest to some folks that are doing organic production. And you can see it hung in pretty well in the Goodyear location it is a hybrid, it is a Pima upland cross. So you'll see that one a little bit more in some of our trials. This is the Stanfield location. Yield was off at this location in 2020. A lot of that was due to some of the heat stress that we saw. Goodyear, that location was a full season. Typically that's a shorter season trial, but this year it was a full season and it wasn't terminated until October. So it was carried late into the year. But this is the Stanfield variety trial results. You can see range from 760 to about 1,300 pounds. These are the graphs that I've shown previously. This just gives you an idea of lint yield as a function of fiber quality. So any varieties that fall into this upper right-hand quadrant did better than average in terms of both lint yield and fiber quality. Varieties falling into this lower quadrant were less than average in terms of lint yield and fiber quality. In this particular location, all of them produced a premium in terms of fiber quality. This is the Eloy location that we had in 2020. Again, a couple of new varieties that did very well. Delta Pine 2038, it was the highest yielding variety there at just under 1,500 pounds. And you can see the fiber quality. This is how they look plotted out against fiber quality and lint yield. Again, several of these varieties performed better than average for both lint yield and fiber quality. So all of this data, and I know I'm going through this pretty quickly, but all of this data will be in the publication that I'll give you a link to in the chat box that you can download this publication. So anyway, I just want to finish up talking about variety testing, just to emphasize the importance and what the difference can be in selecting a variety that's not adapted to your area. We can see upwards of a 500-pound lint yield difference in some of these tests between the lowest yielding variety and the highest yielding variety. And if you look at statistically significant differences or varieties that are statistically similar, there can still be as much as a 200 to 300-pound lint yield difference in those varieties. So selecting an appropriate variety that's going to work on your farm is critical, and it can make a huge difference in terms of return for that given year. And also fiber quality. It's also important to consider that. It could be up, we've seen these big differences of 6 to 8 cents per pound on fiber quality discounts based on different things, whether it's staple length. We had a lot of high mic this year in some of our trials, and we also had some short staple in some trials. So those are things to keep in mind. And then looking at varieties over time and not necessarily making a decision based on 1 year's worth of results, I think is very important. You look at how these varieties perform over time and also over space, across the state, how they perform in different regions across the state. So review as much data as you can. We are working with Cotton Incorporated and USDA. We're collating all of the data from across the belt that's going into a USDA-sponsored database that will be searchable. That's still kind of in its infancy, but hopefully we'll have something that will be available to everyone. There will be no charge associated with it. You'll be able to access all of this data from anywhere in the United States through this website that CI, Cotton Incorporated, and USDA is working on. And again, looking at varieties over years, determine stability and fit. And then I encourage you to experiment on your own farm. If you're interested in doing a variety trial, we'd love to work with you. You can always contact myself or any of us at the university. We'd love to work with you on putting a variety trial on your farm if you're interested. But look and see how these different varieties perform on your property over time. All right, I'm going to move on and talk about the work that we continue to do looking at top guard. This is work that I'm working on in cotton with Lazy Bunko. They're in Pinal and Pima County, and we continue to do some evaluations with this product and actually some other products that we're looking at too for potential control of root rot. Just go through this briefly. Root rot is a Phymatotrichopsis omnivora, is a soil-borne fungus, affects the roots of the cotton plant, results in very quick death, wilting, and death. And up until just recently, we really had nothing that was effective in providing any level of control against this pest. In 2012, some work that was being done by Tom Isaackeets, actually in 2008 was when they first saw it, with this flutriafol, saw some results of control. We started working in 2012. We got a Section 18 in 2015 for Arizona and a full label in 2016. And I'll review that with you here just real briefly. But we got a supplemental label in 2018. The original label, you could only apply it at planting in either a T-band or a modified in furrow. And there was issues associated with that. And the main issue was associated with injury effects on the seed. If you get this product on the seed, it does reduce vigor, and we've seen it reduce emergence also. And I'll show you some data here in just a minute. The label, supplemental label that we got in 2016 does allow for expanded use and expanded application types. So now we can apply it over the top of 4-inch, of 2-leaf cotton, 4-inch band. You can also post-directed at the base of the plant with a band of top guard. We can do pre-emergence injection, and we can do post-emergence injection up to 6-leaf cotton. And I will tell you, just these injection techniques have by far proven to be the most effective. Applying it on the soil and hoping for it to get into the soil through irrigation, we just see very highly variable results with those application techniques. So anything you can do to inject it and get it into the soil, we see much better consistent results with that. We do also have a chemigation label for that through subsurface drip and through sprinkler, which really is, we've seen the best control with that technique. So we did some trials in 2019. I just want to review these results with you. We looked at several different applications, and we also looked at different application rates. We had the T-band, which was a nozzle here that applied a band across the bed, across the trench prior to closing it on the seed. We also had one that was behind the press wheel, where we applied a band directly after the seed trench had been closed. Modified in furrow, this was an application technique where we're dropping the liquid down into the seed trench, and it's got a splitter on it that you can see right here in the middle. It's designed to split the flow of that material to keep it off the seed. We also had post-plant injection and a post-plant in the bottom right here, a post-plant directed, where we sprayed it at the base of the plant. We also looked at a foam application. I'm not going to spend much time on that. This is a new application technique that FMC has come up with that allows you to apply a foam. Basically, it's a formulation that turns into a foam. You apply it directly over the top of the seed. The idea is that this foaming formulation will reduce seed injury. We did do some work with it in 2019, but we still did see some issues related to emergence, even with that application technique. So we had 2 locations in 2019. We had one in Pima in the Upper Gila River Valley, and then we had one in Red Rock. I'm just going to focus on the one that we had in Pima, because that's one where we had extremely high pressure of root rot. Red Rock, we didn't have a whole lot of pressure, and so we weren't able to evaluate the treatments as well at Red Rock. So we did have these different application techniques post-injection. post-directed at the base of the plant. We had the at-planting behind the press wheel, and then the at-planting with the T-band application, untreated control. And we looked at both 4 ounces and 8 ounces at those 2 locations. Looked at emergence stand counts at 14 and 21 days, phytotoxicity ratings, looked at vigor, percent disease incidence, and then we looked at yield and fiber quality. Let me just show you some and point out a couple of things here that we noticed. You'll notice that this is stand count on the y-axis, so this is number of plants in 3 meters, and our treatments here along the x-axis. So the 0.13 is the 4 ounce, the 0.26 is the 8 ounce application rate. We did see a decrease in emergence, particularly early on in both the modified and furrow applications. Really no differences among the other applications. We did see a better emergence at 21 days, so it was delayed, but it did kind of rebound after 21 days. But it was slower coming out of the ground with the modified in-furrow application technique compared to the other treatments. And there was a rate response. That higher rate, we did see more issues, a reduced emergence. Phytotoxicity, we saw no issues with phytotoxicity on the leaf tissue. The small seedlings that came out of the ground, they were all nice and healthy in terms of phytotoxicity ratings. Vigor ratings followed a very similar trend to what we saw with emergence. So this is a vigor rating of 0 to 9, low to high. Again, with the modified in furrow, we did see a rate response and slightly reduced vigor in those plots where we had that material coming in contact with the seed. But by the time we got to 35 days, there was really no difference among any of the application techniques. If you look at percent disease, this is based on an evaluation of each plot, an estimate of the number of plants and percent of the plants that were infected. And you can see the control. This is one of the highest percent disease I've ever had in any of these trials, and we've been doing them since 2012. But in our last evaluation on the 3rd of September, we had close to 90% infestation in our control. So we saw a reduction. We didn't eliminate it completely, but we saw a reduction to about 30% on average for our control, and not a whole lot of difference among the techniques. They were very similar in terms of their control of disease. We did see a little bit better with the behind the press wheel, but not a whole lot of difference between these application techniques. If you look at lint yield for these different plots, again behind the press wheel, and you can see the lint yield was very poor. Even in the best plots, we still had 50% or about 30 to 50% of the plants were diseased. In our untreated control, we had 0 yield with close to 90% infestation rate in those plots. But again, we saw a rate response with the higher rates of the top guard material with the 4 versus the 8 ounce. And that's consistent with what we've seen in the early days of doing this work, but typically saw a rate response from the low rate to the high rate in all of our application techniques. So just in summary, we have seen up to 75% control in the disease, 100% control in subsurface strip scenarios, and also in center pivot scenarios. We've seen that level of control, close to 100% with the application of top guard through the chemigation techniques. Again, more consistent control with the placement of the product in the soil. So if you can get it in the soil through injection, whether it's pre-plant injection or post-plant injection, the way this mechanism works is it prevents the fungus from growing in the soil. So you really have to get it in the soil to get the most consistent and effective results. Again, I would recommend that you go the full label rate at 80 fluid ounces per acre. We have seen some issues where you begin to see symptoms where we've applied it post the appearance of the symptoms through subsurface drip, and we have seen some rescue effects up to 50%, where you begin to see symptomology. If you can get it in through a subsurface drip, we do see kind of a rescue effect there, and we definitely see residual effects from this product from year to year. And that's one of the reasons why we're having difficult time finding locations that have not been treated with Top Guard to be able to put these trials out. Because most areas where we have a lot of root rot, most growers are beginning to use this product on quite a few acres. So it makes it difficult to find plots that we can actually get a response in. So let me just quickly acknowledge those that help make this program move. I've got 3 technicians that currently work for me, our assistants in extension and other agents. They contribute a lot to the work that we do to be able to provide this information to you. Cotton Incorporated, Arizona Cotton Growers, seed and the ag chem companies, and again, our grower cooperatives. We couldn't do it without their help. And let me just close by saying we are going to be scheduling a cotton production update meeting. This will be held virtually via Zoom on the 18th of February. More than likely, it will be an 8:30 a.m. start. We're still finalizing the agenda for that meeting. We will have some university presentations, but all of the seed companies will be participating in this meeting on the 18th. And they will be providing updates to their seed lineup and any other crop protection materials that they have. There will be some discussion about that also. There will be CEUs available, but put that on your calendar for the 18th of February. We'll be